All right, so welcome back to our live stream. Today we're going to jump into Polkadot and maybe how CBDC and also NFTs could play into the future of what this little engine that could is getting ready to do. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back to TechPath. Today we're going to jump into it. I feel like dump right now in terms of the market, even though we are seeing a little bit of a big green candle forming in the Bitcoin. We'll probably jump to that chart, take a look at it as well. I do want to jump into Polkadot, and we've been following Polkadot and the parachain auctions for quite some time. Obviously, it's one of the holdings that I hold and continue to really kind of be a hodler when it comes to Polkadot. I don't plan on selling this project, even though it has taken a beating in this last few quarters. I think, though, that is about to change. There are some things happening within the Polkadot ecosystem that are not only unique, but also in the evolution of where a lot of these chains, like what Polkadot is doing, are really starting to break out with some key benefits. If you look to this first story, NFTs, CBDCs, central bank digital currencies, if you're new to this channel, could be soon coming to Polkadot. This will be an interesting aspect because of the fact that with NFTs, and remember, NFTs being minted on Polkadot would be a massive shift, and what they're attempting to do with that type of approach for a major chain like Polkadot to go in that direction, and especially with the capacity and the speed in which transactions can be done, this could be a big play into them. And I wanted to jump to this tweet that they had here. It gets into a little bit of the weeds. I don't want to dive too much into parachains and all that. If you want to learn about parachains, we've done a couple of big videos on parachains, what they are, how they work within Polkadot and the Kusama ecosystem. Jump to those videos in our channel, learn a little bit about parachains and then understand that. Today we're going to be isolating on a handful of projects that are in the current auction. But I want to move over here to Motion 131 Past Council. This is the internal. Remember, this is a governance process of how things move along in Polkadot. It has been fast-tracked by the technical committee. It's up for vote now as a referendum. And if they pass this, which most likely it's going to, the shell parachain to a thing called Statemint on Friday. Statemint will allow anyone to create assets and mint NFTs on Polkadot. This moves into the facility capable of really becoming an engine for NFT minting. And if you think about just some of the things that are happening right now with projects like Ecomi and what's happening over on VV and Immutable X, all of that is a good example of how legacy systems can start to move over, and being Polkadot, you've got that opportunity. And especially if you look at their connectivity into kind of that next generation around a central bank digital currency. There's a lot happening there. If you look at historically on Polkadot, this is a story that was reported back in September. And this was analysts that basically considered Polkadot and Kusama huge money makers, and they're arguing that DOT is massively undervalued. And I would have to agree that it is one of the projects that continuously surprises me during this last little run-up that we had with Bitcoin. DOT did not necessarily follow suit. And typically what you see with these altcoins is many of these projects will move in unison and or at least in a reactive matrix off of what Bitcoin and Ethereum is doing. So for them to basically say, hey, listen, we are way undervalued here, I continue to believe that. And I think as we start to see some of these projects really shaking loose in the Polkadot parachain system, we could see a lot more interesting things happening with Polkadot. This was their case. So they basically saying Kusama minted NFTs in a limited edition. This is the Kusama Parachain launch collection, and then sent them to the network's newsletter subscribers, which is a cool element, kind of foreshadowing. Let me zoom in on that. Foreshadowing what was maybe to be the case in terms of NFTs coming to Polkadot. And then they, of course, remain bullish on Polkadot and expect a rally to a new all-time high. With the launch of parachains. We all know how that ended up. In the sense, it was a good thing. Polkadot did have a ton of new projects that have been able to launch within that. And we'll jump over to those projects, and you can kind of see why, because there's a lot of projects in there that are definitely flying. And remember, this video is Polkadot projects to watch, not necessarily so much driven on the Polkadot token itself and or the protocol, but definitely the ones to watch in this parachain coming up. But before I get into that, I just want to jump into what Ray Dalio said basically, and I'm sure everybody's watching, kind of the the street level activity of what's happening with the Fed. And the Fed, of course, having a little bit of I won't say a retracement, but definitely something that we've been talking about here on this channel is a little bit of that built in. Sure, there was a little bit of shock when people realized that inflation was not transitory. And of course, I think everybody watching our show already knew that that was the case. And that's why you're in the crypto market in the first place. But if you look at what Ray Dalio says, warns the Fed's hands are tied and that higher U.S. inflation is sticking around. Obviously, we've been talking about this for months on end. And democracy may not. That was an interesting statement. But here's what was the big statement to me. In terms of head of the world's largest hedge fund tells investors to avoid holding cash. Wow. Avoid holding cash. If you're in the crypto space right now, the likelihood is you're using it for a hedge to whether it's inflation or the monetary system and what that potentially might look like in the years to come. What we've seen in terms of you put $100,000 in or $5,000 or $100 in your bank and you see that value because everybody knows inflation is moving. And I think this just represents your investment into what's happening with crypto. And the way that you typically are going to get in and really start making dough, and that is to invest in these projects that are coming and on the move. Remember, we do these market movers. The idea is real simple. We'll pull together some research, give you guys some insights, give you some data, which we're going to give you today. And it's not investment advice. Hopefully this gets you setting on the way to your research, hopefully epiphany, and really starting to understand how not only blockchain, but in general, this whole new evolution of where investing is going. Because I think that is the bigger narrative and the bigger story that's happening all around the industry right now, especially in blockchain. And remember, we're under a $3 trillion market cap here. And when you look at 3 trillion versus say gold at 11 trillion, and then you look at real estate, stocks, bonds, et cetera, you can kind of see the upside for what the potential is here, especially when you've got Polkadot talking central bank digital currencies. You've got NFT absolutely ripping through society in ways in which it's being utilized. All of this is pointing to one direction, and that is that this stuff is getting ready to unhook, and move. And I think we may see it with this all-time high run-up that I do believe is still in play for where crypto is going today. All right, let's get into just the crowd loans on Polkadot. This was let me jump back here to the auctions 1 through 5 so you guys can kind of see the list. If you've been researching crypto very long and maybe you're brand new to crypto, these names over on this particular list will probably make sense to you. Moonbeam, the brethren to Moon River, Akala, you've probably heard of that one, Parallel Finance, Astar. All of these were winners of the Polkadot auctions that were the most recent ones, and most likely are going to be projects that definitely, again, ones to watch. We've been picking these for quite some time, but a lot of times it's like, well, I can't invest in all of those, Paul. Which one would you recommend? So we're going to give you that in the list that's coming right here on this number 6 through 11 auction. So let's take a look quickly at the crowd loans on Polkadot. And something that I use, and I just to give you guys an idea before we get into each one of these projects, but you've got Composable Finance running it at 866 contributions right now. You can see, and basically the way these auctions are won is based on commitment of people and backers jumping into it, contributions into the program. Then you've got, I don't know if people call this Nodal or Noodle. I have not heard it the correct pronunciation, so let's call it the fun way, Noodle. And Darwinia, and then also Interlay, and then I think that's the only 4 that we're going to break down today in terms of sentiment. Mainly because those are the ones that have the big backers. You got 597 on Interlay, 3188. Darwinia is kind of leading the charge right there, but not necessarily in terms of the overall value, which is right here on Composable Finance coming in at 11 million right now. So one of the tools that I use, and they're a sponsor of the channel, is a company called Token Metrics. You guys have heard me talk about these guys a lot. This is my secret weapon. This is what I do to understand kind of, let me zoom in on this and just show you guys, if this is the first time you've been watching, maybe how we research projects. And this is, I'm going to kind of take you behind the curtain a little bit and show you some things that we do. One of the things that we'll do is go to Token Metrics, jump in to a market cap filter, and I want to go to the less than or equal to, which is what I'm already preset to, 25 million on the market cap. I'll apply that filter, and then I might look at keeping that volume right there at, say, under or over a million. So I'm looking at volume and market cap right here in this particular group. So you can see a lot of under or non-reporting market caps right here. The next thing I'm going to do is take a look at the TM grade, the Token Metrics grade, because that is basically a solution tool that Token Metrics analysts, and they have a whole array of different tool sets that they apply into that. And I'll look at these and I'll start scouring these projects and moving into each one of those, go do my own research, and then we'll apply our tool against it, which is our sentiment and amplification. And we're going to get ready to do that with these parachains auctions that we just listed. We'll apply our amplification and sentiment tools against that. And if it matches up, then we have a winner. And in that kind of scenario, that's when I typically go out, I'll make a trade on that particular project. If it's an early project, I'll try to get in on IDO. If it's really early, then I put it on a watch list and I start doing things like what we're doing today. And that right there is the process of how to really understand emerging market projects and the way to get in early. Because remember, you probably have seen a lot of videos out there. The earlier you're in, imagine if you were invested in Avalanche the first time we did an interview with John Woo. You would be sitting pretty, and you probably, maybe even if you sold it at the all-time high over this past month, which I think I was corrected on that in a video. Actually, it was like 144 as opposed to like 120. But that's my point, is that the original video we were in under 10 bucks. So there was a 15x, 12x performance on a major project like that. And we've done this token after token after token. If you go back through our channel, this is the model and the method in which we do it. So we'll identify these early, we jump into them, and off we go. So let's jump to the first project, and that is Composable Finance. I want to just kind of highlight it. It's pretty straightforward. It's basically going to be able to run multiple byte codes together in the same place in order to run smart contracts together. I know this all sounds like mumbo jumbo, but running smart contracts in simultaneous unity that's a little bit of trickery. I think that is a tool set that will become very valuable, especially in the smart contract evolution of how blockchain is going to be implemented in all walks of business, medical, insurance, finance in general, banking, etc. Smart contracts are the killer app of Web3. Web3, the evolution of where smart contracts are going. Remember, smart contracts have to be utilized in all things digital, will be, for certainty and also just for verification and validation. That's kind of how Web3 and blockchain works. So Composable, that's why they're leading this auction run right now. This is a really cool project. It's one I think you guys should pay attention to. Jump over to the white paper right there. You'll be able to get to it, audit results, etc., and then into the app. And always check the investors, because you want to know who's in it. Alameda Research. If you don't know this name and you're watching my channel, shame on you, because this is one of the top research firms out there in the tech community and in Silicon Valley, and they do not invest in anything that is not absolutely groundbreaking in terms of opportunity. So Alameda Research, a big one. I also want to jump to, we'll call it Noodle again. This is an IoT. So if you're watching our channel, again, you probably already know what that term means. It means Internet of Things. And what this simply means, and this is going to break it down for you. I know these terms and all these kind of things are getting a little crazy, but what they're trying to do is use a technology called BLE. BLE is Bluetooth Low Energy, and it's a solution tool that a lot of these small microchips, if you carry, or maybe the Apple little, I can't remember what they call those things, but the little tags that are essentially a way to take a small BLE token and it bounces off of your phone, and then it gives you everything from geolocation data. It feeds you information. It can feed you ads if you walk into a Saks or into a Walmart, and it can feed you ads if your Bluetooth is on. Most likely it is. This is a cool tool, and I compare this to a project you probably have seen on our channel, and that's Helium. Helium is doing the same thing, but they're doing it with Wi-Fi, all right? So again, what they're trying to do here is leverage Bluetooth Low Energy via millions of smartphones and routers to allow enterprise and smart cities to start connecting. This will be a big project for potential municipalities in being able to just talk to devices, especially as we get more and more electronics. Maybe in the future, as we see more and more robotic applications in both city and all sorts of places where we're going to eventually get to that point. Imagine robotic delivery, all those kind of things. I know we're getting out there, but these are the kind of projects that are in their nascent stage. They're just beginning. Imagine getting in on Google when they were just beginning, on Amazon when they were just beginning. That's what we're talking about here on these kind of projects. The other one I want to talk to you about is Darwinia, and this one, of course, is a gaming project, and it's a trustless multi-chain bridge hub network designed to become basically a foundational layer of next-gen Web3. You know, this is interesting. People call this a Web 3.0 dApp. That's not necessarily the term. I believe the accurate term is Web 3, not 3.0 dApps. I know that's a semantics, but it kind of irks me a little bit when I see that, because it feels like somebody who's writing this doesn't understand what's really happening here. But anyway, Polygon, cool things. It's going to go on to Polkadot, Ethereum, Polygon, BSC without the need of custodial vaults or wrapping of tokens. Another big advantage, especially on the gaming sector out there. So lots going on there. Let's look at their investors. Hashkey, Bitrise Capital, a nice one. Consensus Lab, we all know about that. Big Asian house, do a lot in the gaming sector. And then also the one right here, 7X Ventures. Watch them, guys, because those fellas know what's going on when it comes to investing in early stage games. So big one. Let's go over to the last one, and then we're going to break into the sentiment so you guys can kind of see, well, which one should we go with? Interlay. This is a DeFi play, and I know a lot of times DeFi looks a little boring, and I know, Senator Warren's pounding on it, and all of it, it's where all of the dark shadows are in crypto. But this is a good play. It's a decentralized network dedicated connecting cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, on DeFi platforms like Polkadot and Ethereum. Interlay is essentially kind of the evolution of what and will be connected to things like Cosmos, Ethereum, and other things like Bitcoin. So again, cool project. I look at this, I think Lightning Network, I think AMP, Flexa, all those kind of projects that have been able to really come off the ground. And that's where I think Interlay kind of comes into it. Now let's take a look at the sentiment for these. And let me pull that up real quick and get over to the Polkadot projects to watch. All right, so we pulled our CPI data on these on the Crypto Power Index. So you guys know, Crypto Power Index is our tool that we've been working on for years that basically studies sentiment, and it then gives us two sets of tools. One is amplification, and then we look at a variety of different APIs coming in from social data to determine these scores. And scores, especially in amplification, are very important. Amplification gives us forward-looking indicators, meaning how well a project is looked to become popular in this case, or people starting to have faith or maybe interest in investing in it. So you've got composable finance right here. Right there, this is the list that's currently right there on the chart, and what we did was a cross-lay across on CPI, and sentiment holding on comp finance at 74.19, amplification 72.09 or 208. This is, again, people out there talking about this project really going onto social. So that's a strong one. Noodle 69.52. AMP was not that high on this one, so I was a little backed off on this one, even though it's got more backers or more money, not as many backers. I would probably put that in my number 3 as opposed to my number 2. And then Darwinia is very interesting because it's a 73.59. I like this only because it's in the gaming sector, and the amplification is holding up with it fairly well at 69.18. So that's good. So if I was saying, hey, if I were going to bet on one of these to put in my watch list, it would be a toss-up between comp finance, composable finance, and Darwinia, mainly because of the amplification, because your other amplification on Interlay a little bit lower, Even though I think Interlay is a great project, but I feel like it's kind of already moving in a direction that we've got so many other projects, kind of like Noodle is moving in a lot of projects. Sometimes you're trying to recreate the wheel, and I think there's some projects out there that are already doing a good job with these. So those would be my picks on Polkadot and where this might go and what it might look like in the near future as you get into some of these. I want to jump to the chart real quick on Bitcoin because I know everybody's always wanting to know that. Make sure and put some comments or some questions in our live stream and make sure to hit the like button. Sometimes I know you guys love to see this live stream, but if you like the live stream, smash the like button. It lets us know that this is something you do want. And otherwise, we would just film these and then just edit them and pop them out, as we go. Those are sometimes a little easier, but we don't mind doing live because sometimes I think it addresses markets and what's happening, like what we're seeing right now on the chart. Bitcoin is now edging in for the first time this week, closing in on 49,000. You've got a pretty nice move here on this. Now remember, we pulled sentiment back here early in the week where we got a little bit of a move and a fall off, and then we saw this little jump and then a back down. Remember, this light purple area that's overlaying this is our CPI indice that tracks against these, or at least it forecasts against this. So we're getting ready to pull another sentiment cue right here today, and we'll probably pull it on this green candle right here. And once we do that, we'll probably report on that on the live stream on Friday, because Friday we are giving away well, not a bucket, but a nice bucket full of money to you guys that are in the Diamond Circle. The way we do our giveaways out there is real simple. We do this thing, it's called the Diamond Circle wheel. We spin it, it's kind of fun. And all you have to do is sign up. So you got 2 days to get signed up for this Christmas giveaway that we're doing on Friday. And you're gonna love it. It's gonna be an awesome giveaway. So don't sleep on this one. Get in there, it's free to get in, jump into the Diamond Circle. Let's also take a look at Polkadot and just kind of where this was and also how it was performing. Because if you look back here in September, this is where sentiment was running at 68.79. Our amplification, 69.02. This is what forecasted DOT's run. And this was from September right here to its high. And that was 112% run for Polkadot. And we felt like this was going to be the breakout for Polkadot. Of course, that was on November 5th, and that was a problem because Bitcoin was still performing, but DOT was not. No fun on that one. DOT was not, but it wasn't performing. So we saw the retracement, and when we saw that retracement, let me hit my escape button the right way, coming from right here on that retracement down to where we are right now in the last sentiment bubble, we've pulled this at a 56% retracement right here. So right now, when we pull us in, we just pulled this data today. And this right here has a 70-29. Remember, 70 versus 68. This is a good number in terms of trends. And amplification, though it did not flip, it's right on the heels of what's happening right here. And DOT appears to be getting this a few green candles, probably in unison with Bitcoin popping right now. But we do see this floating out a little bit. And what I'm a little concerned with is this little area right here. You guys see me, I'm always concerned with those because we don't like those sharp moves. But we do have a little bit of sideways action, potentially a jump, and then a little bit of an uptrend right here, which is going to hit right around end of December 24th through 26th. We think that's where the movement will start to happen with Polkadot based on the current sentiment data that we're getting. Again, remember, parachains launching, auctions launching. Auctions will start to create a lot of that, just that general news, which creates a lot of interest in the market. Then people will open up to research, and then they jump in on a channel like ours and say, wait a minute, we should watch that Polkadot video and understand what Paul's talking about. And that typically starts to do price action and move price action, hence getting those tokens. If you have any other runs that's happening in unison and then any kind of PR, well, then there's your magic. That's what happens in these things. So that's our Polkadot run for the day. I love Polkadot as a project. It is one I'm going to continue to hold. I don't know that I'd put it in my top 3 bag for the bear market. I'm going to do a video on that. A sneak peek to that is Polygon. We have a Polygon video coming out here very soon that is going to explain a lot about why Polygon is absolutely, I know, and it's been performing, it's been doing great. Even in this little bit of a correction, Polygon has been one of the shining stars out of here. So stay tuned for that one right there. Let's jump over to some questions, kind of get into some elements of what you guys want to know about, and maybe it's getting into games, dots, etc., all those kind of things. Agile Games, Paul, what network do you think will pass the all-time high on dot? That would be a good question. I think the scenario on Polkadot, if you look at whether or not, and I'm assuming you're talking about Kusama compared to Polkadot, I'm assuming, or if you're looking at maybe some of the projects within, like Moonriver, etc. Moonriver, remember, still had and has had a pretty lackluster performance after coming out as a major, well, as the winner on that particular auction. So I don't know if I would call any one of them an all-time high, because I'm not sure. There's a few that will definitely start to run up, but I don't know that all projects within the Polkadot ecosystem are going to run. So you've got to really do your homework on which projects, one, you like, and two, which projects you want to go in and invest in. Some of these are like, composable finance would be a good one that I like, that I'm interested in just because of what they're trying to do. And that might be maybe the winner of all of the parachain auctions that I've seen so far. And that's got guys like Moonriver, Moonbeam in there. So there's some heavy hitters in there. All right, let's go into Infinite. Okay, Infinite Tech. Thank you very much for signing up for. Oh yeah, you signed up for Token Metrics. Cool, good. I'm glad you're using it. That is what we're here to do. And again, I know they're a sponsor of this channel. We work with them, but it's a tool I use. It's a tool I use every day. I'm always looking in there. I'm always looking at those TM grades. It's something that, and listen, it may not be for you, and that's okay, no big deal. But if it's a tool that you want to go test out, take a test drive on it, I'm sure, hit the link below, you can get in and find out. All right, let's go into Kadlincha. My biggest bags are Sand, IMX, then Phantom, and then Thorchain Rune, Ultra OS. Okay, well, you're going to love all of this, so we can talk all about those. Sand, we've done a million videos on. I feel like still one of my biggest bags. IMX, Immutable X, go check our video out on that one. Love that project. Immutable X is getting ready to explode because of this Akomi issue of what's happening with this conversion on the VV. If you are not following NFTs and the comic space, go do a little homework. Get into that community, watch for the red circles and the red O's for the Akomi army, and follow those on Twitter, because you'll be, I think, surprised. If you're into that, Immutable X is right there in the hub of that. Phantom needs to move, man. It is a bag that has really been in trouble. Thorchain Rune, I had Rune on my, a little bit more of my edgier projects. I'm not as bullish on Rune and Thorchain. There are some exploits I've heard of, and we've actually talked to a CEO the other day who talked about a Rune exploit that was happening within an NFT. That always concerned me, is when we see programmatic exploits, not social exploits. I should probably do a whole video on how exploits are happening in crypto, and maybe a how-to watch out for these, because there's a lot more exploits out there than, hey, hit my Telegram link or which reminds me, remember, if you're watching this, we do not reach out to you on Telegram. We do not reach out to you on WhatsApp. Do not follow those. And the PB icon that they're trying to scam you in our comments, we try to delete them the fastest as we can. Be watching out. Ultra OS, I like that project. One of our guys in the crypto pit is a big fan of this one as well. Sneak peek, we have the Ultra OS team coming on the show to talk about some big news. I can't say much more than that on that. Let's go into something else. All right, Monos. I'm going to name my yacht Omi after all is said and done. There's going to be some Omi millionaires, I think, out there very soon, because Omi is probably still exploding. I don't know if the crypto pit is reporting on it right now, but they'll probably give me a whiteboard that says Omi's at 10 cents or 0.0010. That'll be fun. All right. Okay. Sawansa. Hope Affinity loses parachain so I can get in. You guys are just brutal to these projects, man. You're not. You got to give these projects a little bit of life, to let them flourish and become something. And it's like a little kitten. You gotta pet it, give it some milk, and let it kind of grow. So I understand it's all about profits, but I get that. But anyway, you gotta let that play out. Rajan, DOT has definitely has the wherewithal. Yes, after Solana's issue, I do see DOT as a better blockchain because of projects that first stress tested, Canary Networks, Kusama. Plus, you've got Gavin. I mean, who else? If you've got Superman leading the charge, that in itself kind of presses on in terms of a a project that you could probably get behind. But I want to correct that, what he's saying about Solana, because I'm a big investor in Solana, as a bag. And they continue to struggle. Remember, and I've talked about Solana many times, that this is still a beta project, and they're getting stress tested. Solchix was, kind of the thing that crashed them the other day or caused the network congestion. But imagine, I'm concerned about that because if it's a small project and I really say small project like Solchix, and a little bit unknown, I mean, known in the gaming industry, but not known in mainstream. If you start moving major projects onto that, even though that's the claim of Solana is speed, transactions, and scalability, those are the kind of things they have to overcome. This has to stop with Solana. I think they can do it. But when you look at the infrastructure, you look at the team, you look at their roadmap and their tech, it's real. It's not some propped up chain. This is a real project that has real life and potential, but they got to get past some of these early mover problems. And this reminds me a lot of some of the Silicon Valley investments that I made, 5-6 years ago, where they're young teams that just don't know how to respond to these kind of things. I think if Solana maybe gets and I'm not saying their team's bad, but maybe they just need a handful of lead devs, good old line tech stack Web 2 guys that understand scalability and exploits and congestion and network failure, all those kind of things that come into the blockchain and will continue to come into the blockchain. That's a big one you got to watch out for. So let's go here. GP, any projections for IMX price now? Yeah. Well, listen, IMX, we've talked about it before. You needed to hold it back when we talked about it months ago. It may be too late to get into Immutable X now because I think that this is going to absolutely pump with Vivi. And then you've got Ecomi, the token itself. I mean, that ecosystem, just NFTs in general. Remember, a lot of people still think NFTs are going to be highly devalued. I just see too many use cases starting to transcend into real life. And when you see that working in real life, because that's the big knock on blockchain is, well, yeah, that's great. This is all my friends. Blockchain investment, that's great, Paul, but it doesn't do anything yet. And I'm like, this is what people told me in early 2000s when they said the internet didn't do anything yet. It's the same exact score. It's the same stuff. So yeah, you're okay. If you're in it, good luck. I mean, congrats to you because you're getting ready to make some big bucks. If you're in Ecomi right now, man, just tell me if you're in Ecomi. Drop in the comments below and tell me if you're able to get your money out of Gate.io because that's where mine is. I'm not sure that's going to happen. All right, do you think DOT is a slow mover like ADA and will eventually fall out of the top 10? That's a good question. ADA has had trouble, even though there's still people out there that think it's going to pump in January. I would say this. I don't think DOT is like Cardano. I think there's too many other things happening, and their developer crowd and their auctions, their development community, and their lineup with where potentially NFTs will play into this system. They're doing a lot of the groundwork that you have to do to get ready to do some explosion. So just, in 3 or 4 months, you're going to come back to this video. You're going to be watching it right now and going, man, that was what we should have been watching for DOT. Hey, listen, we're going to get going here. If you guys want to reach out on Twitter to me, just hit me at Paul Barron. Make sure and follow me over there because that's where I drop a lot of stuff. But make sure and get in on the Diamond Circle. That's the best place to really kind of get some of it. And we're really trying to accelerate our drops on the Diamond Circle in terms of research papers, analysis, CPI data, all that kind of stuff. We're going to amp that up. We're going to continue to start building on it. So sign up real quick, and it's free. Plus, you get in on these Diamond Circle wheel runs when we do those as well. Hey, we'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.